Something interesting might happen in the world of business, as one company might request the help of another in establishing something that directly rivals that of the company it's seeking help from. Amazon might request help from SpaceX to help launch Project Kuiper, which is a rival to SpaceX Starlink. Also, the rocket company of Jeff Bezos is once again testing its massive engine. Watch this video to the end for details. First up, Amazon might need SpaceX's assistance to launch its Starlink competing service. Early in 2023, Amazon plans to launch a pair of test satellites into orbit that would eventually become a part of its Kuiper low Earth orbit internet constellation, which will compete with SpaceX's Starlink. The satellites will launch in the first quarter of 2023 as a secondary payload on the inaugural flight of the new United Launch Alliance (ULA) Vulcan rocket. The Astrobotic Technology Peregrine lunar lander will be the main payload. ABL Space Systems, a startup, has had development delays. Therefore, Amazon resorted to ULA, a joint venture of Boeing and Lockheed Martin, in order to launch its test satellites into orbit this year. The business is willing to use SpaceX's heavy-lift rockets to launch its Project Kuiper broadband satellites, according to Amazon's Senior Vice President Dave Limp, who spoke with the Washington Post live during the interview. Dave Limp remarked that they would be insane not to talk to SpaceX, given their track record in the business. However, Amazon is not interested in the Falcon 9 rockets being used by SpaceX to launch its Starlink satellites. Amazon is interested in SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket and its forthcoming Starship rocket, which is still under development because its broadband satellites are bigger than those SpaceX is deploying. Limp's assertion is unexpected, given that Amazon secured agreements with Blue Origin, Arianespace, and United Launch Alliance earlier this year to launch its satellites into orbit while excluding SpaceX from the equation. By beaming down data signals from low Earth orbit, both businesses hope to offer high-speed internet to isolated regions all over the world. With its Falcon 9 rocket, SpaceX has now launched more than 3,000 satellites as part of the construction of its own broadband mega constellation, given that Amazon has not yet launched its satellite prototypes into orbit. This puts the business of Elon Musk far ahead of its rival. The business recently disclosed its plans to use United Launch Alliance's forthcoming Vulcan Centaur rocket to launch the first two Project Kuiper internet satellites later this year. The rocket was originally scheduled to launch in 2020 but has had numerous delays. A future partnership between the competitors in the same business would make sense, given that Amazon appears to be out of rocket alternatives and SpaceX has an abundance of rockets. Amazon is required under a 2020 permission order from the Federal Communications Commission to launch half of its 3,236 Project Kuiper satellites by 2026 and the remaining ones by 2029, failing which the business would risk losing its license. In an interview, Limp stated that the capability for big launches is still rather limited, and he believes that will remain the case for the foreseeable future. The long-standing animosity between Musk and Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, makes any potential partnership difficult. While SpaceX plans to launch up to 42,000 satellites for Starlink, Amazon wants to establish an internet constellation made up of thousands of satellites. Astronomers on Earth are concerned about how these satellites would obstruct observations of the cosmos as these firms compete to create their satellite constellations in the sky. Of course, it will be fascinating to see how SpaceX responds if Amazon does approach it about using its launch services. NASA and SpaceX famously engaged Blue Origin in a drawn-out legal battle after NASA chose SpaceX's Starship as Artemis 3's lunar lander over Blue Origin. Last year, Bezos also blasted the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, alleging that SpaceX was subjected to a separate, more lenient set of regulations than other businesses. Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, responded to this charge by commenting on Twitter that hamstringing Starlink today for an Amazon satellite system that is at best several years away from operation does not benefit the public. Over the years, Musk has attacked Bezos on numerous occasions. Musk, who is well known for his controversial tweets and who is now the owner of Twitter, responded to Amazon's Project Kuiper announcement in 2019 by typing "Jeff Bezos copycat." Musk has also suggested zapping Bezos with their space lasers and has even once accused the founder of Amazon of impotence. Next up, the rocket company of Jeff Bezos is once again testing its massive engine before sending the BE-4 rocket engine to the United Launch Alliance, ULA, for use in the latter's Vulcan Centaur rocket. Kent, Washington-based aerospace company Blue Origin, owned and managed by retail billionaire Jeff Bezos, underwent one more round of testing. One of three next-generation launch vehicles now being developed in America is the heavy-lift rocket known as the Centaur, and it could be the first one to conduct an operational launch as early as next year. The engine successfully performed a test that lasted 4.5 minutes, which corresponds to the duration of the flight as well. The BE BE-4 engine, another to abandon kerosene as its preferred fuel, uses methane as its fuel, similar to SpaceX's Raptor engines for its Starship rocket. Blue Origin's BE-4 engine is traveling to Decatur to be assembled into ULA's Vulcan rocket, being the main engine of both the Vulcan and the New Glenn. Blue Origin's BE-4 engine is essential for the American space program. Blue Origin's heavy-lift rocket, the New Glenn, uses 7 BE-4 rocket engines in its first stage to produce a maximum thrust of 3.8 million pounds. The Vulcan, on the other hand, is a rocket that replaces ULA's Delta series of rockets that use Russian-made engines. It uses 4 of these engines to provide 1.1 million pounds of thrust, one of the few in the world. The second, or upper stage, will utilize a nozzle extension for its rocket engines. The cryogenic second stage of the Delta IV Heavy uses this extension as well, which helps the engines run more efficiently. This extension on the Centaur, the Vulcan rocket's second stage, will allow the rocket to carry bigger payloads to their intended orbits. Because it generates higher thrust than SpaceX's Raptor and Aerojet Rocketdyne's RS-25 engine, the BE-4 is also one of the biggest rocket engines in the United States. The Raptor, the BE-4, and the RS-25, which have a combined thrust of 510,000, 540,000, and 512,000 pounds, will propel the rockets of this decade. Even though the BE-4 is more potent, SpaceX's Starship rocket will ultimately claim the title of being the largest rocket in the world. This is because Starship will employ 33 Raptor 2 engines to produce a staggering 16 million pounds of thrust. The Falcon Heavy, which is currently SpaceX's heaviest rocket, can produce 5.1 million pounds of thrust by connecting 3 Falcon 9 boosters for a total of 27 Merlin 1D engines. The development of rockets and engines is closely related, and the design objectives of the rocket are frequently used to decide the size of an engine. The fact that Starship is intended to be utilized as a gateway to Mars is all that qualifies it as an extremely heavy lift rocket. The upper stage, which separates after the rocket escapes the majority of Earth's gravity, must be bigger and able to carry more payload for this purpose. In turn, this adds to the overall weight and necessitates a larger rocket. However, neither the Centaur nor the New Glenn is intended for such missions, despite the fact that, like any other powerful rocket, they should be able to deliver payloads to Mars. The Vulcan's first flight is scheduled for next year, and SpaceX is actively developing the rocket in Texas as it prepares to perform the 33 engine's highly anticipated simultaneous static fire test. Next, SpaceX ships Starship's 200th upgraded Raptor engine. SpaceX produced 100 Raptor 1 engines between the commencement of full-scale testing in February 2018 and July 2021, before delivering its first Raptor 2 prototype. The overall number of Raptor 1 engines produced by the time Raptor 2 took over in late 2021 or early 2022 was probably between 125 and 150, outstanding, but dwarfed by SpaceX's Raptor 2 goals. The goal of Raptor 2 was to make it simpler, quicker, and less expensive to produce future Raptors. The long-term objective is to lower the cost of producing Raptor 2 to $1,000 per ton of thrust, at Raptor 2's current target of 230 tons, or 510,000 pounds of force. According to Musk, each early Raptor 1 prototype costs more than $2 million for 185 tons of thrust, about $11,000 per ton. It's unclear whether that ever significantly changed. In response, SpaceX worked to simplify as much of the primary, secondary, and tertiary plumbing from Raptor 2 as they could. Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, announced in 2022 that a sophisticated torch igniter system for the Raptor 2's primary combustion chamber had even been eliminated. Theoretically, all that streamlining made building the Raptor 2 a lot simpler, and SpaceX's production numbers have more than proven that assumption. During these simplifications, SpaceX was still able to increase the thrust of Raptor 2 by 25%, while only losing 1% of Raptor 1's efficiency. If the Raptor 2 engine SpaceX is already producing are moderately reliable and reusable, and if it only takes 5 to 10 orbital test flights to start reusing Starships and Super Heavy boosters, then a production rate of 1 engine per day is probably sufficient to meet the realistic engine demand over the next few years. That's all we have for you today. We can't wait to see SpaceX's reaction if Amazon does in fact reach out to them. What other topic do you want us to discuss? Inform us in the comments section. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.